Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is G. Cole, and welcome to Homegrown, where I get to share with you some good music while talking to some great people. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do, so we can keep you updated when new material is available. We will be posting new episodes bi-weekly. Also, check out the website Homegrown with G. Cole to listen and for all things homegrown. We're also very, very interactive. Please follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook at MyGCole. Let's start off with this one. It is a song called Just What It Is. It is by, you know what? I'll tell you that a little bit later. Keep it moving, keep it grooving. It is Homegrown. Legends, ladies and gentlemen, legends. Ladies and gentlemen, the legendary Mr. Ernest Ranglin, and of course the Alpharians. And this one features Edward Tantan Thornton. The song is called Just What It Is. Make sure you go ahead and get that. It is on iTunes. It is everywhere that you get your music from, all your digital platforms. And of course, the names you hear me mentioning, they're also alumni of the illustrious institution of Alph, right? Over the years, they've gone from Alpha Cottage School, so I started out.
Right.
And then Alpha Boys School.
Oh, Alpha Industrial School.
I went to Alpha Industrial.
Alpha Industrial School for boys.
For boys.
Then Alpha Boys School.
Mm-hmm. And now it's just Alpha Institute.
Alpha Institute.
All right.
One clarification, though. Ernest Ranglin, although he did sit in with the band, they allow, Sister Ignatius would allow him to sit in with the band. Mm-hmm. He is not an alumni, as they say, of the prestigious institution. However, he was a 17-year-old kid from living in East Kingston.
Right.
And he knew that that's where the music was.
Right.
And as a 17-year-old kid, you had a 17-year-old Tantan Thornton, trumpet player, Edward Thornton there too. Mm-hmm. And he asked for permission, as he told me. He asked for permission. Sister Ignatius gave him permission to sit in with the band and play with them, which just amazing. That
wow.
And so that he had a relationship with the band and the school and all that, and Sister Ignatius knew him and respected him.
So in today's world, if you went to the regular universities, they'd say, okay, you're an honorary. You know what I mean? An honorary graduate.
These days, anyone who's a musician, it seems, is included in that. You know, you see Dean Fraser mentioned online and other places as a graduate.
And I thought he was.
It's like an honorary thing. If you can play music, you went to Alpha, which is not a bad problem to have. Unless you didn't go to that school, because Dean probably went to a school that also wants to claim him. So
right.
Any case, he was just at Alpha, and I explained to him that the situation, so he understands.
He's okay with it?
I think so.
And ladies and gentlemen, I'll give you the proper introduction. Right now, I'm having a nice conversation with Mr. Joshua Chamberlain, and we're going to also get into a very, very worthy campaign that's coming up to benefit the institution. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cole. It's wonderful to be here.
The pleasure's mine.
I have to thank Mr. Roy Sweetland for making it possible as well, because it wouldn't have happened without him, and that's been the case for really much of my experience in Jamaica.
I hear that a lot when it comes to Mr. Sweetland. He facilitates a lot.
Yeah.
He makes it happen.
Seriously.
You know, and of course he gets the best shots in the world too. Mr. Sweetland himself, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead and log on to his page, subscribe, do what you got to do. Make sure you have him at your events. All right, he's not free though. Don't forget that part. Alpha, like I mentioned to you off camera, Alpha is the institution of Alpha. I want to say confidently, every Jamaican, right, and members of the diaspora know of the institution of Alpha, but not really know what the institution of Alpha really is. And I'll pick your brain for as far back as we can go.
Okay.
Let's talk about the beginning. What we're talking about, 1880,
Right.
is when it started.
That's what they say. I wasn't there then.
That's the word on the street.
But that's what I've come to talk about. No, 1880.
Right.
A woman named Jessie Ripoll, and she seemed to be the leader of a group of women who attended the North Street Cathedral. And there was, I don't know if you remember, but that was Bush back in those days.
Right.
So I actually found a map from 1897, almost 20 years later.
Wow.
And it looks like Bush. You see the grid of downtown Kingston, and then
I believe you.
up in the right-hand corner
Right.
is Alpha Cottage. And so in those days, getting 40 acres was, you got 40 acres of bush. And so Jessie Ripoll and 3 of her friends, all women, got 48 hectares, I believe it was, and created Alpha Cottage as a home, as a place of safety,
Right.
for youth. And the
Kind of
first
like at-risk youth or just youth?
in those days, I think
Everybody's at risk.
everybody was kind of accounted for, but it was there was certain kids who I think parents missing or die or go away or whatever, similar to how it continued later on.
Right.
The first resident was a girl.
Oh, really? How did the switch happen?
I think they went wherever the need was, and that on that day, on whatever maybe it was a Wednesday,
Right.
at 11 o'clock, whatever it was, Jessie Ripoll walked in with a girl.
Wow.
I don't know at one point the boys became a part of it, but just less than 10 years later, I believe there was a boys section and a girls section.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And there always was. The girls section actually continued into the 50s or 60s. And my understanding is much like the boys' orphanage that closed as a result of not enough young men being sent to residential care.
Right.
The girls' school closed for a similar reason. They just didn't have the numbers to keep it open.
Gotcha.
But there were boys, there were girls. They had 48 acres. So they had a big operation up right when Jessie Ripoll handed the school over to the Sisters of Mercy in 1890. So ever since 1890, the Sisters of Mercy, who are still running it today, have been operating the school.
Wow. They live long lives, huh?
They have the secret.
They have the secret.
Yeah.
And it's always amazing for me, it's very important to always have the backstories, because a lot of times I feel like that's the only way you can understand why, how things are the way they are. And like I said, most people we know when we talk Alpha, we're talking music. That's true. It used to be the metropolis, the Mecca.
And the tailors, there's many other things to talk about. And they have many trades, and the tailors and the printers and the shoemakers, they're kind of bummed out about that.
Right. They're not too.
I'm sure
they want some props too.
They want some shine.
Because for a minute there, everybody kind of had to learn a trade.
At least one. They all had to learn two.
Two trades.
Even if you talk to people like Yellow Man was a shoemaker.
Wow.
I've read his case file.
Wow, he was a shoemaker.
And they talk about how, Mr. Foster will be a good shoemaker when he graduates.
Right. Nobody mentioned anything about being an artist.
Not yet, no. But no. And even many of the, Tan was a printer, I believe. So all these guys, it wasn't just about, it was quite practical. You can't rely on one thing, you have to rely on two.
Right.
And even in music, you can't rely on one instrument. They all had to rely on two.
So most of them are multi-instrumentalists.
And music is not the only story, but it's the story that people connect with.
Right. I got you. Big up all the shoemakers out there, all the printers, everybody is doing what they do. You know what I mean? It's only right we give the shout outs.
Because it's that whole story that without it,
Right.
Alpha is still that way. They still have other
Right.
trades, and they still rely on those trades, to be honest, to survive, which is fascinating because Alpha is known for music, but music does not financially support the school. They have a woodwork shop. They sell wood products. They have a print shop. They sell print products. They have a screen printing shop. They sell screen printed products. None of those things play instruments, as far as I can tell.
The irony. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen. And like I mentioned to you, like I said, if you ever ask a Jamaican, Alpha, yeah. But what we're talking about right now, nobody knows. Nobody knows except the 4 people around the neighborhood and the nuns. And you.
Well, people know. It's just we need to talk about it more.
We have to
And
highlight.
I'm learning. I've probably made some mistakes already today, so I'll be corrected. But
40-second delay. It's all good.
I'm willing to be corrected. So there's a lot of ground to cover, and I think it's just part of it is just having the story,
Right.
talking about it. It's something that it's been on a shelf for so long.
Right.
It needs to be taken off the shelf, dusted off, and enjoyed. And to be honest, that's what's happening now. There's a lot of good things happening at the school. Before we went on the air, I took a call from Jamaica. They do visitor tours. So
Like scheduled.
weekly.
Wow.
People pay.
To go see Alpha.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I
Get a pair of shoes from Yellow Man.
you can now get the Yellow Man version of the new Alpha sneaker.
The air yellow.
The air yellow.
Wow.
That would be interesting.
That would be different.
So people are want to know the story, thankfully.
Yes.
Does that mean my time's up?
No. That means you got another hour.
I said something wrong.
Yeah, that was the nuns beeping in.
So,
man.
but yeah, it's a story that is being talked about. So I'm grateful for that, and it's something that we need to do more of. And I can tell that you have gotten into it, and that's important too.
It's intriguing, to say the least. I went to military school, so I can relate to the boarding situation. And again, I'm into music a lot. I'm a musician. When it comes to, and I go back to it almost folklorish because it's almost folklore.
It's unreal.
It is unreal when you talk about Alpha and you speak of the legends and the names, be it immediate alumni or just people who are around. When you talk about the Don Drummonds and Tommy Cooks and all the names of yesteryear that are present in our minds today as legends, they all trickle and trace back to Alpha. And I'm sure there are a couple of legendary shoemakers and printers that we can trace them back to. But that's episode 2. We'll get to it. Now, something that moved me a lot is their motto, because it's something that I use in my own life, upward and onward. When I saw that, I was like, I guess we're a little more, we're closer than we think. What does that mean to you when it comes to what you know about Alpha and now, today, upward and onward? What does that resonate with to you?
It's progress, and never stop. They both reinforce each other. And I'm not sure where you saw it, but it's at Alpha, written in stone.
Wow.
In the middle of the schoolyard.
Right.
It's something that you walk by every day. It's something that you live, and it's a standard.
Wow.
It's something that people live by, and you can feel that connection. You see the connection. Most of the buildings now, they date back to just after World War II.
Right.
But the people that were there before World War II. So you see the people, you can see the connection, and you see the lineage. And upward and onward is what connects everybody.
Wow.
So it's something that is very present. Even though you see it in history, it's something that's very present, and it's like you say, it's something that connects us all.
I'd love to go there and see it for myself. I saw it on the internet, so I can't even.
Well,
Yeah,
add it to your itinerary the next time.
Yeah, add it to my itinerary. But certain little things jump out at me.
Yes.
Simple phrases that mean a whole lot. The other thing I always try to find out, and I wonder a lot about in this day and age, when you meet someone and they're attached to a cause or an institution or a person or whatever the case may be, what drew you? What's the Alpha connection for you? What drew you to really be this vested and a part of Alpha?
I think, well, I'm a history person by nature. I should clarify, I am from New Hampshire, Manchester, New Hampshire, and I went to the University of New Hampshire and I don't remember a thing about that experience,
Right.
except I had a very good history teacher by the name of Jeffrey Bolster. But my second year in university, my roommate was friends with the reggae show disc jockeys at the university. And I didn't know reggae music at that time. I just went to the radio show, and I literally never stopped going.
Wow.
For the next 10 years. Didn't take me that long to finish university, but after university, I kept on going.
Just for clarification.
So, and then I learned about the music by vinyl records, really. And then I would go online. So once I left the university, I had a job where I could go online. It's like the dawn of the internet, 2001, something like that. And you type in Jamaica reggae,
Right.
and orphans pop up. You type in roots Jamaica, nuns pop up.
Right.
You type in Jamaican music, and orphanage pops up. I'm like, what are these dots? So I connected the dots, found out about this place called Alpha. Just it's an amazing story, Jamaican or not.
Right.
And so I called the school from my place of work, and I said, "Do you exist?" Basically, they said, "Yes, we do." At the time, Sister Ignatius was alive. About 6-7 months later, I went down and did a magazine story on the school, and she had passed at that point. So I met Sister Susan Fraser, who's now running the school, and Sister Maria Goretti, who's now back in New Zealand. And they were cool. Like, I was there I spent 5 days. They put me up, they gave me an apartment, stocked it with food, gave me a driver if I needed. The hospitality was top notch.
Right.
And at that point, there were 300 boys living there in a senior home and a junior home. Sparrow Martin, who is now the music professor, so to speak, emeritus at the school, was teaching the band, the longest-serving bandmaster at Alpha, a past Alpha student himself, a great drummer with Carlos Malcolm and many other people. So I met those folks who I still talk to today, and after those 5 days, I stayed in touch. And over the next 2 or 3 years, I ended up traveling to Jamaica every year to start to work with sound systems. So I got into sound system culture, and then I moved to Jamaica in 2007 to do a degree at the university on sound systems.
Big up Green Lion.
Big up Green Lion crew, Zeke Stern, Chai, the whole crew, blah blah. And Zeke would go with me, and we both went to Alpha. So we were sound boys, like dance hall babies, really. And we would go, and people would give us money or give us an instrument, and we'd go to Alpha and make an appearance. And Herbie Miller would go as well. He's now the director of the Jamaica Music Museum. And so through the music, I was able to, Alpha was my introduction to Jamaica and to the music.
Right.
And that's something that is extremely special and fortunate. And as the degree started requiring less time, I started volunteering at the school. And as a foreign person, I was fascinated by the school. And other foreign people would show up, like knock on the door and say, "Can we come in?" And Alpha was very much focused on the school at that point. And through my discussions with Alpha, we started creating this visitor experience and thinking about Alpha as of interest to a broader audience. And so through that, we created the radio station and started looking at the international music industry and how does Alpha start engaging with that.
Right.
And so over the last 3 or 4 years, Alpha has added a recording studio, the disc jockey program, Pro Tools training, as well as this visitor experience and whatnot. So it really is a very comprehensive place in terms of Jamaican culture, because tourism is big in Jamaica, so Alpha students now have access to that. And music is an important part of that story.
Wow.
So Alpha now has all of these pieces that its students have access to as well. So you can see that unfolding before your very eyes. It's still very early in the process.
Yeah.
Things are still very tenuous at the school. Music is very expensive. It's very important, and the sisters are very committed to making it work. So all of these pieces are required, I think, to stabilize it and to provide that vision, to get young men really excited about what music is today.
Right.
Because it's not the same. You're not going to entice anybody with a trombone anymore.
Right.
It has to be something else. They'll spend 5 hours on a computer.
Yes.
But they won't spend 5 hours with a trombone.
Right.
And practice is important. So Alpha is linking the two. And they come in. We talked earlier about how you have to have two trades. Now they do music performance and music technology.
Wow.
So having those two balanced with the interaction with the tourism experience is something that is, I think, very valuable. And so that's something that Alpha can do that not all schools in Jamaica can offer. So it's something that's very special again.
Wow. It's amazing and intriguing as I sit here and I listen to you talk and you talk about certain names. I love having conversations with the legends, and over the past couple of months I've spoken to quite a few of them, and most of the names that they mention you now mention. So I get the tie-in. A lot of time, like you said, when you pull that stuff up on the internet, you start connecting the dots. I'm sitting here listening, and I'm also connecting the dots. We spoke briefly about Yellowman and his shoemaking skills. We're going to drop a little bit into his other his other skill. We're going to drop a tune right now from Slightly Stupid featuring Yellowman. Keep it moving, keep it grooving. It is Homegrown.
King Yellowman, Slightly Stupid.
Living in a Babylon, tell me how you feel. Things are getting up and now, things are getting real. People in the ghetto rob, loot and shoot and kill. Packing up the bags and then moving to the hills. Look to keep the things on for themselves. Look to put the blame on someone else. Want the things that everybody needs to hear the things they think of me. Living in a ghetto, man, things are getting real. Packing up your bags and then moving to the hill. Living in a Babylon, tell me how you feel. Stupid and King Yellowman, tell you what the deal, which is love. Look to do the things.
It's called Living in Babylon, ladies and gentlemen.
Not to keep the things up.
Slightly Stupid featuring Yellowman.
No, still I love it, I'm on a wheel. So to let them know just how we feel. Living in a Babylon.
Bless up. Big up. Big up. Rise up.
The original king of the dancehall.
Living in a Babylon.
The world is a big hospital. Everybody sick and they getting potion. The world is a big hospital. Everybody sick and they getting critical. Tired of the food that they're eating. Tired of the juice what they're drinking. Tired of the medicine they're taking. Tired of the life they're living. Tired of the things they're seeing. Tired of the things what they're faking. Everybody want to live right. Everybody want a good life. The world is a big hospital. Everybody sick and they getting potion. The world is a big hospital. Everybody sick and they getting critical. The world.
Yellowman said the world is a big hospital and everybody's getting sick. It is getting critical. I dig those words. I really dig those words. Now I'm sitting here processing this as I'm listening to all this music, and I'm like, wow, whether or not we realize it, the nuns are really entrenched in the dance hall culture. Now that you think about it, you know what I mean? Just go back and think about it a little bit. They are entrenched in dancehall culture. We mentioned off camera, we're talking about the disc jockey program, which is something that is, I've only heard of that from the hip hop side of things, being by Jam Master Jay's people. But from the reggae and dancehall side of it, that sounds something very intriguing. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I have to differ with you. They're not entrenched in dancehall. They're entrenched in the foundation of music.
Mad, I'm going to lie to them.
So
coolest nuns on the block.
Before dancehall, before reggae, before ska, you had sound system culture.
Right.
So this precedes all of those things. So it was that foundation that I think attracted the Sisters of Mercy, and they are connected directly to it because Sister Ignatius had a sound.
What was? Let me first of all apologize to the nuns for not fully giving them their street cred. All right,
Signal.
2 lighters for Sister Ignatius.
Give us the name of the sound system.
Yeah, talk to me about the sound system that Sister was running.
Okay, and this is how really, really deep they get into it. It was essential. I mean, if you know about, so in the 50s and 60s, sound systems came around in the 50s. Sound systems played music Jamaican radio would not.
Right.
Jazz, blues, those types of things. The first Jamaican music you heard only on sound systems. So that's where the real music was played.
Right.
And Sister Ignatius bought a sound system from an Alpha boy. There's an Alpha boy named Noel Davey, I believe his name was. And he's an Alpha boy. He worked on campus. And there was another, a colleague of his who worked at an electrician shop. And so they actually built Mutt and Jeff sound system in the late 50s. Ignatius bought it from them, and then she would pull it out on a Saturday and play music for the students. Yellow Man says the first sound system he ever DJ'd on was Sister Sound.
Wow.
Ilawi from Jah Love says that he was trained to play sound by Sister Ignatius.
What?
And so I believe, and no one's had a chance to talk with her about it, she's passed, but she would play music, jazz, R&B, and she would use it as an educational opportunity.
Right.
So she would say, and everybody makes their Sister Ignatius voice. I don't think I'm going to try. I'm not going to try. But she was, she was very, she was a very unassuming person. And she would say, now, boys, listen to this, or listen to the saxophone here, or listen to that. She would play Louis Armstrong and point out the things. It was a listening, and that's listening and appraisal. That's actually a musical kind of technique or learning technique, which she did, I think, by nature. She was that in tune with music and the educational purpose of the sound system.
Right.
So it wasn't dance hall that she was interested in. It was an educational tool, and that is what fascinates me about the sound, and that's why sound system is so important. So she had a sound system, and she used it for that purpose. And I just think that's just a wonderful, very basic, fundamental, fascinating. So we actually, with support from some friends of Alpha in Jamaica, we actually just built Mutt and Jeff Disco. So Alpha now has a sound again called Mutt and Jeff.
Mutt and Jeff.
So inspired by Sister Ignatius,
right?
Her sound, which doesn't exist anymore, but Alpha now has Mutt and Jeff's Disco.
Wow.
It's built in a foundation way. So the steel horn, the House of Joy,
vintage,
and all that, and painted by Nurse. That lighter, please. And I have to big up Nurse. If you know Nurse, the hand painter in Negril.
No.
Nurse is a wonderful. If you haven't already, check out Nurse Signs on Instagram.
Will do.
And he has another very unassuming, disciplined craftsman, a hand painter. One of the last people to paint signs by hand. Most people screen print their signs, but he does his by hand. He brought himself into Kingston, painted the boxes for us. About 4 o'clock, says, watch out, my son has football practice, gotta go.
Wow.
Took himself home, just very wonderful, and did obviously an amazing job.
So this sound system, we're talking about a real
it's a
deal.
piece of
it's
art.
not.
It's awesome.
Wow.
I have to respect Jam 1, Tony Myers, on Chisholm Avenue, Minot Terrace at the top of Chisholm. Jam 1 is one of the last places in town, if not the last place. I know Mr. Denton and Ronnie still do work, but Jam 1 was, you go there, you see Stone Love over there, you see Jammy's boxes over there, really holding the sound system culture together at 13 Minot Terrace. They're still there. So Tony did an amazing job with this sound system. Quality sound. People love it.
Big up, Tony.
Yeah.
Big up,
Tony Myers.
So right now I could be flipping through my vinyl. I'm going through King Tubby's, and I'm going through Sister Ignatius, and I'm going through. We're just going through vinyl. We're going through classics.
She had thousands of records, and I can see. I've actually gone through some of them.
Wow.
Many of these records were actually, I'm told. So if you remember Paul Allen, the guy that founded Microsoft, who recently passed away, he founded what's called the Experience Music Project in Seattle. It's $500 million US building created by Frank Gehry at the right below the Space Needle, like prime property, huge space. It's now called the Museum of Pop Culture. About 10 years ago, they presented an exhibition called Island Revolution.
Right.
And they spent years in Jamaica researching, became good friends with the sisters, and the sisters gave some stuff to the museum. And they got many of Sister Ignatius's records.
Wow.
I'm told Paul Allen had him at his house.
Wow.
That was his appreciation for these
For those vinyls
for
that he
the
got.
vinyl records. So, and she would sign them ABS, Alpha Boys School,
Mm-hmm.
and there were many still at the school, and you could see them. And she was known for her record collection. You know, if something would happen in the world or in Jamaica, and she would send a boy to the store and get the record to hear, because that's how information used to, meaningful information. And I think she was thinking about how to share that with the students.
Right.
So, she was a sound system person,
Right.
And
Sound
that-
system pioneer.
really a foundation. So when you think of people like the foundation, it was, Sir Coxone and Duke Reed, and Sister Ignatius was right there along with them, and she knew them.
Right.
It was she that would pick up the phone and call Dodd and say, "I got a trombone player for you coming down to
Right.
work." She was the one who had those connections. Amazing.
So Coxon, and as I'm listening to you, I'm visualizing all this stuff. It's like Coxon and Duke Reed and all them trying to get the latest, and I need the modest dub plate out in there, and I don't know where I'm gonna do. I'm gonna call Sister Ignatius right now, because Sister Ignatius is gonna give me a dub that's gonna kill every sound.
They don't kill though. They won't kill.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You can't.
That will bless them into oblivion.
That will bless them. It's a kindness thing. That's even more wickeder.
The irony, the oxymoron within. Ladies and gentlemen, listen, I'm telling you this. This is stuff that I don't even want to watch. I want to just listen. This is something you want to sit back and listen on an AM radio. The stories of what's going on. And it's legend. And like I mentioned to you, a thing that goes on a lot in Jamaican culture. And this is, unfortunately, it probably still permeates today, where our culture is of such where we look so much out that a lot of what's within we don't know and we don't see. Amazingly enough, and I can even correlate it to places in Jamaica where a lot of foreigners will be familiar with, where Jamaicans are not. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's just a Jamaican thing or maybe an international thing, but as it comes to Jamaica, that's something we notice. Now, I'm a firm believer in this. Credit needs to be given where credit is due. A lot of times, when people don't do what we expect them to do or what we'd like them to do or what we think they should do, we speak on it. And there's a lot of times when people are doing a lot quietly, nobody says anything because they're really not doing it for recognition. There's some benefactors, some people who help the institution and support the institution, whether scholarship-wise, equipment-wise, financial contributions, and so forth, that we want to touch base on. And if you can, I'm talking about, in a case like this, even DJ Irie.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a second.
A good segue, because you're talking about sound systems, you're talking about selecting, you're talking about disc jockey culture.
Yeah.
That obviously comes right back to sound system culture, with Kool Herc and the whole rap game. But in case of DJ Irie, Alpha has been really reinventing itself. And, I said something right.
The nun said thumbs up.
Alpha's been reinventing itself from a strictly music performance school to a school that covers as best possible the depth and breadth of music industry, which is technology. Look, you're a musician, and look at what you're doing. You have all of these. You have far more ability than just singing or playing instrument, and knowing how to mix, how to record, how to handle yourself in a studio, and those types of things are key to success. So, Alpha. We put the radio in place in 2013 with the support of WXGR and Michael Wadley, who made Woodstock, the film, made that possible. Rototom Sunsplash was key to that. So that created a little foot in the door, and then it just blew open, which included the voicing room, the production lab. And I was a radio DJ. I once thought I had a sound system. Learned I did not. So I'm fascinated by people who do, like Sister Ignatius and Alpha now. So I'm living vicariously through that. I guess that maybe I'm an honor. Maybe I'm an honorary something or other from Alpha. But what DJ Irie did is he helped complete the circle. And DJ Irie, of course, has Irie Weekend here in Miami, which supports, creates hundreds of thousands of dollars of good for at-risk youth in South Florida. And he, through the American Friends of Jamaica, another wonderful supporter of Alpha, created the opportunity for a disc jockey program at Alpha, which completed the circle because, and you might agree, disc jockeying is really the performance side of technology.
Right.
So
Literally.
it's something that schools like Berkeley College in Massachusetts have been doing for over a decade. And it's something that Jamaica has been doing for more decades. You could go back to sound system culture, but it's not taught.
Right.
And I think that's one of the problems with sound system culture is that no one's teaching these things.
Right. It's quite informal.
It's very informal, and you don't have the same kind of each one teach one mentality anymore. There's the older generation teaching the younger generation, and that's not just sound system culture.
Right.
That's across the board.
Yep.
But I think it obviously feel it more in Jamaica because the music is so important. So what Alpha did in by embracing this disc jockey opportunity is really it reinvented itself just as importantly, I would say, as when they created the music department. The nuns, Sister Maria de Chantal, one of the first nuns in Jamaica, created the music program, which was a huge and unbelievable step, which she never could anticipate what would happen. Just as I think introducing disc jockeying at Alpha, you don't know what's going to happen. It's now in the hands of the students, but thankfully so. They have great teachers. DJ Denvo from Fame FM is the disc jockey instructor. Don McDowell is the Pro Tools instructor. But the disc jockeying is where all of that music background, technology training comes together. So they can create their own rhythms, which they are. They're doing sound design, and then they can perform them themselves.
Wow.
So all of that is happening at Alpha, really made possible by DJ Irie, who, through his Irie Foundation, made a $50,000 donation to the school, which supported math, English, a practice room at the school, which is absolutely essential, also for disc jockeys. You have to have the same type of discipline. Go in there for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours and practice, just as you would a trumpet or a trombone. So all of those same requirements are necessary, but the new instrument is the disc jockey turntable, or the controller, as they now use.
Wow. Much respect to DJ Irie.
Every time.
Big up all the disc jockey them.
All the disc jocks out there.
Need a light.
I get like a lighter for it, but bang, 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 bang. Because amazingly enough, this month, it's funny we're having this conversation. This month, last month and the month prior to that, we spoke to a lot of the legends, like I mentioned, the Michael Roses, Inner Circles, Dean Fraser, legends in my eyes. And then we've decided now that, after the music is curated, is produced, and it goes through quality assurance, hopefully, some of you are not, but through quality assurance.
That's the sound system, which is now missing again. Exactly.
Now we've got to get it out there. Yeah. So there's marketing and there's sales, which in my eyes is radio and the disc jocks, right? Getting that music out there. So the irony of it now is that we're sitting here talking about disc jockeying as an art, as formally being taught. Because I feel like there's nothing more forceful, there's nothing stronger than backing up your passion with some form of formal education instruction. That's how I feel about it. What I'm wondering though is this: back in 1880, I guess the music part of it came 1892. The documentation says.
Well done.
We did some of that. Google.
You deserve a lighter.
R2. Bang bang bang. But back then, it was an institution where people who, for lack of a better word, didn't have it, that needed it, would go. With all that it offers right now, this is going to be appealing to everybody. Can every and anybody go, or is it a similar situation still to where they really reach out to people who have those needs and are not able to financially put themselves in an institution like that?
Alpha today is still in a position where the students that are there today are all there because they need it. They wouldn't have another opportunity to gain the skills or the network or the community resources, connections required to move forward in life. So the students that are there today are considered unattached youth in that sense.
Wow.
They're not boarders anymore. They don't have an orphanage. That closed in 2014. However, the students that are there today, it's a day school. It's more open to society outside. As an orphanage, it was very much kind of it was looking after itself in terms of food and lodging and a roof. As a day school, there's more opportunity to look at the connections to jobs and to society. Our students have now traveled to London, to Colombia to represent Jamaica as musicians. So there's more of that, which I think is where Alpha's strength really lies. There's more opportunities for the students that are there, more opportunities for youth. Alpha would like to have 100 students next year, and right now there are 25 music students.
Right.
So what we're doing now is we're actually putting in place a scholarship drive to increase the beneficiaries that benefit from this type of program, because as you say, it is a incredibly unique, cutting-edge, innovative program. And it was never the idea that the nuns would fund everybody to go to school.
Right.
The nuns are able to, the Sisters of Mercy are able to put these in place, make sure that the entire system, it's a holistic environment. They get nutrition assistance if they need it, transportation help if they need it. They do family counseling. They do work experience. They do work placement. All of these are made possible by the Sisters of Mercy.
Wow.
But there is a need for help to make this sustainable and to make it grow. So we're putting in place a scholarship drive in March called the March for Music Education to make that happen, so that more people can benefit in a 21st century type of way.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
So the song you played before, actually, by Slightly Stupid and Yellow Man. Slightly Stupid is also participating. Yellow Man is also helping us.
Wow.
So give thanks for Slightly Stupid, because they were one of the first to come on board.
Wow.
So we call them actually a lead partner in the March, what we call the March for Music Education. Starts in March, but it also is a march. It's not going to end in March. But we're asking everybody to focus on this 1 month. It's one time of year. It's one cause. Let's make one difference together. Let's act as one.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about Slightly Stupid. We're talking about Yellow Man. And just in case you need to remember, here's a song. Go get it.
Right, I can't take it if you don't change it. I will break it, really. Everybody feel a purpose, but this world gets serious. And if you never ever fix it,
The original king of the dance
there'll
song.
be no more Christmas.
And Slightly Stupid.
The world is a big hospital. Everybody sick and they getting caution. The world is a big hospital. Everybody sick and they get
One of the biggest touring bands right now representing the reggae culture. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. You know, I always ask, and like I mentioned to you, I went to Prospect College, which is a semi-military institution, and everybody's on scholarship also. A lot of times when we have these institutions, in my eyes, and it can be reputed, but the views of G. Cole does not represent those of anybody but me. I'll put that disclaimer out there. A lot of times I feel like institutions like these play the role that government should be doing sometimes. They relinquish some of that responsibility from the government, because the people, the government are responsible for the people. Now, the crazy thing about it is a lot of times institutions like these, when it comes time for funding, you have to reach out to private sector. And when I say private sector, a lot of times not necessarily just business and commercial stuff, but the general public, which in this case would find themselves on the lines of the private sector. Is there any help? Have we reached out any? Is it even a thought of getting help, funding, or so forth from the government to be able to help an institution like Alpha?
Yes, and Alpha has been working with the government to do everything possible to make that happen. HART, the National Training Agency, Alpha is working with them. So through Alpha, the students get a HART NTA certification.
Oh, nice.
So as part of that association, Alpha gets support from HART. Unfortunately, Alpha's music program is too advanced for HART to certify. So right now, and this is something I think wherever you play music, it's very hard to certify a music in that way. In Jamaica, the Associated Board's Royal School of Music exam is an important qualifier.
Right.
So Alpha students will sit for that, and if you're going into the military band, I think the requirement is level 5, level 4 or 5. So the goal is to get Alpha students up to that point so that the military becomes an option for the performance.
Gotcha.
On the technology side, certification is software-based. So taking a Pro Tools exam is important, and Pro Tools supports Alpha. So I have to thank Pro Tools, Greg Chin, and that whole team to have made Alpha a focus and in that way, because Pro Tools training is something that is also people fly out of Jamaica for.
Yeah.
So I think that's absolutely critical to mention. The Ministry of Education came on board this past year, so that has made a big difference. But there's, this is something that is bigger than, I think, government in a way. All schools, wherever you're a public school, a private school, a military school, a vocational school, there's always another dollar that you know where it's going to go.
Right.
And music is the most expensive I think, one of the most expensive training programs that exist, and Alpha has not monetized that. It's very hard to. People have been losing money in music for years, so it's not no surprise. But it's something that has to be invested in, and I think that it just shows how innovative the Religious Sisters of Mercy are by making this really a signature for them. So, and it's through their 100+ years that they've been able to figure out the most efficient and the most effective way of teaching it, which is a unison method.
Right.
And so at Alpha, one teacher, lots of students, that's the method that Alpha uses. The conservatory method is when you do one teacher, one instrument, or one teacher, one student.
Right.
That's very costly, and it's very difficult to sustain. So Alpha has really figured out something special, and I think the support, the coming on board of Hart in terms of the other trades and the Ministry of Education recently in terms of teachers makes is kind of an endorsement of that. But music requires more, and I think that it also is such a the level of training that's required is now not just in Jamaica. You have to look at what's happening outside of Jamaica in order for the students in Jamaica to be successful. Much like whether you're in New York or Miami or New Hampshire, you have to look at what people are doing elsewhere, and for that you really need some special support, and some connections, industry connections. So all of that requires funding that. You always have to be looking ahead. Right. So that's where I think private support, industry support is absolutely essential to this particular trade, the trade of music.
That's bigger than the support you'd only get from government. We still want that support, though. But you know what? And I'm amazed right now when you're saying even that Pro Tools is on board. That's that is remarkable. That is remarkable. We've got so much to cover in so little time. However, we're here for a cause, like we mentioned, right? The March for Music Education to benefit the Alpha Institute. Let's get into that.
Love to.
A little bit, all right? So let's get into that. And I have some information that you had sent over, and this is to benefit Institute. Again, it's from March. Now I see the tying of the word. It's a march. No pun intended.
As a military
for the
man.
Month, exactly. For the month of March. So talk to me a little bit about this, who came up with it, and exactly what the goal is.
Well, it's really, it's something that I'd like to say I came up with by myself, but I'm not that smart. Oh, you knew it all along.
Big up Sister Ignatius is proud of you. She's
not so modest too.
Don't be that modest, not at all.
Well, the thing is, it really is something that it's not something I'm capable of doing by myself either.
Right.
This really came out of the fact that I have kind of fell into this position. I got a degree from the University of the West Indies in Cultural Studies, focusing on sound systems. I had no idea that I would be in this, fortunately, to be in this position. So I've been, Roy has been an important person in terms of, connecting me and Alpha with people.
How do you explain to parents that you're going to go get a degree in sound systems? I'm just trying to figure that part out. How does that sound?
They just heard school. I didn't tell them the sound system part. I said I'm going to get a degree. A postgraduate. Oh, that's wonderful.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
But it really took a while. Just last year, I think, I got a job. Is what happened. A couple of years ago, I got a job. The Sisters of Mercy actually hired me.
All right.
And it was that moment that they, ting, one of those bells that you have went off.
Right.
And my mom said, "I'm proud of you."
Wow.
So I was like looking at my watch, saying,
"That's my mom."
Well, finally. But no, they have enjoyed. I think they've been wondering where this is going. And to be honest, I have too. But I trusted the music in a way. It brought me this far. So from WUNH radio to to Green Lion to Alpha, it kept on growing. So I think that I felt like I was going in the right direction. The sisters saw something. They gave me this position as a fundraiser, and so I, as an American. Most big charities in Jamaica have somebody who can get on a plane and go talk to people.
Right.
Alpha did not have that dedicated person. Right. So I helped kind of make that possible. The idea was always for me to go abroad. Alpha, however, needed some kind of strength locally. The music department needed some help. So I helped create a vision for that in terms of how that would be laid out. That's been finished. We now know how much that will cost. So that means that now we can all kind of I can look outwardly fairly comfortably. And I started talking to people, going to Toronto, New York, Miami, went to London, and people want to help. They want to engage. Like you say, they heard of Alpha, they want to help. And I was having a difficult time helping, satisfying everybody's desire to do that. I found myself talking to people about doing an event all over the world all of a sudden. I had like 10 or 15 events trying to figure out how am I going to do that, get sponsored for all of that. I realized I can't. However, what I can do is provide a platform to empower other people to support the school in some fashion. So it was through conversations with people in Toronto, musicians in Australia, supporters who love the music like me, like people like me in Amsterdam who don't play music but want to be a part of it.
Right.
And it was through trying to figure out how to involve all these folks that I started talking to people about one platform, where with this platform we empower musicians, labels, brands, the salad shop down the street that plays reggae music. If we want that to continue, if those of us who, I don't play music, have been touched by Jamaican music, blessed by Jamaican music, how do we support that? Well, here's Alpha Institute. This is a way to support that.
Right.
So let's all focus on that. And what better way to do it than focus on it at one time? I've been inspired by the whole idea of what if we all gave $1 at one day. And so the March for Music Education is to say, all right, this is the month, this is the time period, this is the cause, and not everybody can afford $1. I recognize that. But those who can, let's put our money in this one place. So let's turn these small dollars into big ones. And Alpha is all about, Sister Susan says that Sister Ignatius held everything with an open hand. So it's for everybody. And I would say this is an opportunity for everybody to chip in and enjoy it and benefit from it together. So let's show our collective support.
Right.
It's not necessarily about who did what, but let's do it together and see what we can do. And then afterwards, let's see how that goes. So what we're saying, and Slightly Stupid is helping, Easy Star Records, VP Records, G-Jam Resorts, Kings Highway, a wonderful music band, another wonderful band up in Boston. Cornerstone, which is a wonderful foundation that focuses on helping kids with eyesight, and you have to be able to read to be able to play music. These folks have said, we're going to help. So through their help and connecting with some of the people that they know, we're going to reach the average music and culture fans. And our challenge to them is, do what you can. And here's the way to do it. Here's the PayPal button. And let's do it together and enjoy it together. So from March 1st to March 31st, March for Music Education, we invite everybody who's been touched by Jamaican music or feels that this is something that's important to do what they can. And every single dollar goes to support scholarships for students who need it.
I was about to get to how do they get to join that campaign, and I see here donations are accepted via PayPal on the marchformusiced.org. So it's MARCH 4, the number 4, MUSICED.org. So I presume it's March for Music Education.
March for Music Education.org.
All right, go ahead and get that website. Use the Take Action button. 100% of the donations fund student scholarships for the 2019 to 2020 school year. Scholarships underwrite tuition, transportation, nutrition, counseling, and work experience, like you mentioned before. And win prizes and surprises, it says here.
We have some wonderful, so the Chris Blackwell Strawberry Hill, we have 3 nights at Strawberry Hill and a couple nights at Jamnesia, which is the surf camp. So whether you like it down on the ocean or you like it up in the hills, everybody who donates, everyone who chips in will be entered to win a prize of that sort.
I'm going to chip in now. I need a vacation. So, all right, cool. I like that.
And we have to be, people need to, you need to be able to provide access. And Alpha now is all about access. We have the visitors, visitors who come to Kingston can visit the school. I think seeing is believing. So particularly if people feel that this is important enough to donate something, then we definitely want to make that type of experience available to them. There's other ways to experience it. The Alpha Boys School Radio is 24/7. People can experience it that way, but there's nothing like actually standing on the grounds where Don Drummond, Leroy Smart, Johnny Osborne went to school.
Wow.
And it's not, there's also some great current musicians we have to give thanks to, Feluke, Conrad Pinnock, Nicholas Larac, who are keeping that tradition alive. But it's the students that are there now because it really is a new music industry with the difficulty in making money by selling music. You have to provide all these a constellation, I think, of music and technology skill sets that Alpha is investing in, and to keep that going, we definitely need some outside support. And so this is the month where we ask people who have been touched by Jamaican music to do what they can in support of music education.
The great thing about this is that it's being watched and listened to all across the globe. So there's no nationalization. You can do it wherever you are. You're in Africa, you're in Asia, you're in Europe, you're in the UK, wherever you can go ahead and support it. And, people have been incentivized. So even this situation here where you can win a prize, it's very great. I presume, looking at this, then if there's some people who can donate and they can get in contact with you, other things that could be considered prizes that could, be further incentives and so forth, they can also get in contact with you.
Certainly.
What's the
we need to grow it. There's the email, which is musiceducation2019@gmail.com. musiceducation2019@gmail.com. March for Music Ed. March the number 4 musiced.org. You can also go to the Alpha Boys School. You can still go to alphaboysschool.org. And there's a banner there that you can click on and go to the website, alphainstitute.org.jm. But I guess the easiest one might be the alphaboyschool.org website, and click over to March for Music Education.
Nice. And we mentioned briefly just now Feluke, who's a talented artist.
Amazing.
I'm going to give him a little piece of one of his songs. This one is called Disguise, ladies and gentlemen. Check it out. Keep it moving, keep it grooving. It is Homegrown. The album is called Insight.
You see, they drive in the Jeep, they don't feel the heat. Oh, so don't put your trust in them. None of them don't pay rent. This you win false statement, and I bury you them on the pavement. Not for them a devil in disguise, dressing in them suits and ties. Boy, open your eyes so you can see their disguise.
Feluke, ladies and gentlemen. Song's called Disguise. The album is Insight. Make sure you go ahead and check it out. You mentioned we were talking about this too. The radio station, Alpha radio station. Talk to me a little bit about that. My bad. Can you hear yourself now?
I would love to talk about that.
Yes, talk to me a little bit about the radio station.
Well, it's a passion of mine. I found out about life through the radio station.
Right.
So much comes through the radio. It's amazing how important radio is. It's about communication, it's knowledge, it's education, it's business. So many things you can get from radio, which I had really no idea until I got into it.
Right.
But when I was in New Hampshire, I was able to connect with Rob Connolly, who built WXGR with Michael Wadley. Michael Wadley won the Oscar for the Woodstock film. First person to split screen.
Wow.
It was technically really innovative and obviously an important cultural film. And so Michael helped build WXGR, which is a local radio station that does amazing things up in New England. And through my experience with that, I got into radio. And so when I moved to Jamaica to go to school, I was still doing a radio show for WXGR.
Gotcha.
And Rob he's a genius when it comes to radio, much like yourself.
I appreciate that.
He was creating radio stations for brands, and it was just, so it really created new spaces for radio. And through conversation with Rob, we started talking about, well, let's do Alpha Radio. You feel that it's over 100 years of music to select from. You could have your own amazing playlist just from Alpha.
Wow.
So it became a curated experience. Rob with support from my and Roy friend Zeke Stern, who helped put together the original playlist of over 800 songs. Every one has an Alpha boy on the track.
Wow.
So you get the Johnny Osbornes, the Leroy Smarts, the Scatolites and whatnot, but you also, Bob Marley's horn section was all Alpha. Zap Pow was Alpha.
Wow.
Burning Spear, the Revolutionaries, was, Horsemouth on drums. And you go back into jazz, Dizzy Reese, Wilton Gaynaire, Joe Harriet, Bertie King, Leslie Thompson played with Louis Armstrong. These are all Alpha boys.
Right.
So it's a curated experience through music and radio, and Alpha Boys School Radio
Web
is
spreads
online.
far.
And it spreads far. So 24/7, people now have something that they can hold on to. Before, you could read about it and you go home, or you might think about it and forget about it. And now our average listener is 4.5 hours.
Wow.
So people leave it, turn it on, and leave it on. It becomes something that's a part of their life.
Right.
And it's now, it's helped create jobs. It's amazing what this technology and radio has done. So Alpha has graduated one group of students so far. After the orphanage closed, they have graduated one set of students. And all of the technology students are working. One of them is employed full-time at RJR, doing radio. Sajay Watson, have to big him up. He really it's his passion, and Alpha Boys School Radio was partly responsible for that.
Nice.
So,
nice.
It's amazing to think how this is radio today. It's not some yesterday type of technology.
Right, some archaic stuff.
So we've been able to do amazing things with it. We created a podcast called the Kingston Minute, where we talk about people, places, and culture in Kingston.
Subscribe to that right now.
You can go online for that.
What's it called? The Kingston Minute?
The Kingston Minute. And so the Alpha students created that. And so it's a great way to learn. It's a learning tool. It's a broadcast tool. It's a promotional tool. We meet people that way. So we encourage people to check it out and to let us know what they think about it.
Kingston Minute.
Yeah.
I'm finding it. I'm an old guy, so if I don't do it now, I will probably forget. But I'm going to get on it. I love podcasts. I love the format of it, and I'm saying to myself right now, okay, so Alpha, we're educating radio personalities, we're putting them out there. So that excites me, because it means radio is going to get better. That's how I'm viewing it right about now. Radio right now, as we know it, which we all have a lot of complaints about, is on the verge of getting better, as will be disc jocks as a result of what's going on right now. So right now we're bubbling and cooking for a great future. And that excites me a lot, especially the young people coming up right now, because a lot of times when it comes to things, the arts and anything that's just immediate talent related, we think of it as informal. But like I mentioned earlier, there's nothing better than mixing that passion with some formal education.
Absolutely essential. And Sean Paul is one of the folks that have supported Alpha. I have to thank Sean Paul, Steve Wilson, Jerome Hamilton from Headline Entertainment, all been giving of themselves, their networks, and as well as their financial support. But Sean Paul came to Alpha, and some of the students were playing their rhythms, and they obviously with Sean Paul, I need you to listen to this, and that is not Alpha.
That's not it.
School Radio.
That's not it. I thought I had it.
That's G. Cole's secret podcast.
My bad. I'm sorry.
G. Cole's secret stash. So one of the things he said if you're making rhythms as a young person, great way to use them is for radio beds, which seems kind of not very glamorous,
right?
But that's what I mean. To be honest, I'd been saying that for about a year, and obviously didn't catch. But Sean Paul said it, so I'm very thankful for that.
The words have been validated,
yes,
by the Dutty Cup crew.
But radio is that stepping stone to the industry.
Yeah.
Sean Paul recognizes it. It was that for me. It's that for Mr. Watson, who went to Alpha. It's absolutely essential. So whether it's music or presentation or disc jockeying, it really brings all of that together, and it allows Alpha to own all aspects of that. So it really is a wonderful kind of introduction just to the whole business,
right.
And very special. I can't think of another school where you get this type of opportunity, particularly as a high school level, after Form 5 type of experience. So this is something that is, I think, valuable not just to the students, but to the country and the culture. Coming back to fundraising, it's something that I think the support is that every dollar goes that much further. In fact, I read somewhere that It was one of the folks at I think it was UTech did some research and found that $1 invested in the creative industries produces $6 of return.
Wow.
Whereas other industries don't have that type of, what's that, 600% more than?
More.
So this investing in Alpha, and there's not a lot of music, as important as music is, that discipline training, that structured training, formal training, there's not a lot of it. There's Edna, which is another level of music.
Right.
And whereas Alpha is really owning this vocational space, I think, that's a whole nother area. But there's not much, not a lot of that type of formal music education going on. And that's, again, not particular to Jamaica.
Right.
It's just that music, I think, is very important in Jamaica. It's
Right.
tourism, economy, culture, identity, all that spins off. So, very important.
And it feeds so many different aspects. Like Roy and I spoke of on a previous episode. And it's not just the artist, you know what I mean? You have the sound system guy, you got security, you got the dressmaker, you got the suit man, the jerk man, the con man. It's amazing. And I do implore all the artists out there, successful and upcoming, to support the venture also, because they have the spotlight on them and people follow where you go.
Well,
People listen to your words.
It is. And Alpha's always had, I think, wonderful support from
The
the
artist
artist community.
community.
So whether it's Kabaka Pyramid to Chronics, Dean Fraser and Terrace Riley just came to Alpha. Terrace made a nice donation. Johnny Osborne just made a very nice donation. In other ways, Chris Martin and Romaine Virgo have been to Alpha. Dubwise Miami, Jason Panton, Protege, Yardcore, David Rodigan.
Alba
Rosie.
Big up Alba Rosie.
So Alpha past students, Feluke, Nicholas Larocque, they all have also engaged. And so
Love it.
we need the whole community. It's just that in this month of March, we're really trying to create, see what we can do as a group and give everyone a singular place to say, all right, this is as a group, as a community, let's all do this one time together and see what we can do. I think that's pretty exciting because you hear about reggae as a community and in terms of unity, and this is one way to manifest that.
I love it, and it speaks even to the prehensibility of the music itself, because it's music that we say it's Jamaican music, but it seeps its way into the fibers of the nuns from England, all the way up to New Hampshire, your household, and all across
My mom
the
buys
globe.
dub plates now.
See what I mean? The thing is, are you on those dub plates?
No.
That's revenue.
Actually, my dream in life, one of my dreams, I have a few, but one of them is I would like to know how to become not a DJ, but just be able to control a microphone, like a sound system event.
Oh, okay.
So I could do an intro.
I'm gonna have my people call your people.
I like to maybe do a little workshop, but make that a class at Alpha or something
Right.
like that.
An Alpha toasting class is what they'll call it.
Toasting 101.
101.
Toast 101.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
there's a feature in that.
you're on the list as I am to become a alumni of Alpha. You see?
Honorary. Got to drop the honorary in there. Honorary. The real alumni. They've earned it. So we're gonna hold on to the whole honorary thing.
Well, now that we have this radio connection, you need to come to Jamaica, do a live broadcast of some sort, or come to Alpha, come to the radio studio, and do a show from there.
Yes.
You don't have to
Yes.
pressure me. You don't have to ask twice. I'll be there. Any excuse I can.
Homegrown at
So-
home, at the real home. Yeah?
Literally. And I'm awed right now with just the stories, and I'm sure even though we've been on here for an hour and a little bit, this conversation could go on for a whole day, and we wouldn't cover everything. So I want to, on behalf of all the listeners and everybody, thank you so much for stopping in and enlightening us. And I do hope everybody listening will go ahead and participate. Again, we've got the information. Make sure you go ahead, marchformusiced.org. Use that take action button.
Please.
Yeah, I would like to also thank Joshua for allowing me to participate in Alpha. I've learned so much within this little talk here about Alpha. Not just being a historical flashpoint, but a practical way out for our kids, So it's a very, very important institution for dealing with some of the problems that we have in Jamaica right now.
I think it's going to significantly affect, because again, music is a way out for a lot of people, but there's so many different avenues and dynamics of music. And the other thing I think pretty much is this: I like the educational part of it because to me, and I say it over and over, sound like a broken record. Going to college and getting a formal education, a lot of times it's not about the degree, it's not about that education, it's about the aptitude for learning. So you've created a learning mechanism within somebody who would have otherwise been doing something otherwise.
You have to learn how to learn.
You got to learn how to learn.
And that's when they come to Alpha. That's one of the first things you do is you learn how to be ready to learn.
Right.
And music is great for that. Just music alone. I mean, that's why music is so wonderful. Is that it forces you to look at yourself as a member of a group, which makes you kind of ready to receive. So if you see someone playing an instrument, you see how their value to others. So you put yourself in that position to receive information from others. So music is extremely special, and that's special to society. That's something that Jamaica leads on, I would suggest. I think, Jamaica has problems. The United States has problems. There's a lot of problem all over the place. But what Jamaica has, I think, is this access to music and to culture and to that understanding and appreciation for it. But what you're saying is true, is that formal aspect of it. Many people might think that music is organic. It is. Joe Gibbs and other people, not formal teachers, but I think what they show is that music education is absolutely important, and that's what Alpha provides, a formal music education. You have to learn how to read music if you go to Alpha. You have to be willing to give you a sheet of music and you can play from it. That's not something you just learn on the street. And that is needed in this day and age, because if you're going to go to London, if you're going to go to New York and do something, you have to be able to do those types of things. So I'm speaking like a non-musician, but that was Alpha's claim to fame, and it's never going to go away. Music, that aspect of music will never go away. So you're exactly right. I think you're the perfect person to tell people about it. So I appreciate your interest in what they're doing.
Well, we're going to be talking about it for a long time because, again, it resonates with me. It's something that, outside of the knowledge of everything, sometimes things are just intriguing. It's like and it's one of those episodes that I too will go back and listen to. I don't listen to my own music a lot. I don't listen to a lot of my own recordings. But this one is something that I can step outside of and listen to, just the audio, and say, wow. Well,
come to Alpha. And I would invite all of your listeners too, because it's an experience just being there. Listening to me or listening to us, because it really is a conversation, is one thing. But this is something that happens every day, and when you show up on campus, as Roy can tell you, it's just beautiful. It's like this is in the middle of Kingston now. This is not Bush anymore. This is considered downtown,
right?
And it's like an oasis. You can feel that the structure, yes, but out of that structure came Leroy Smart, came Johnny Osborne, came Ilawi, came Faluke. So that structure is absolutely important to creativity and individualism, and it's that, regardless if it's music, to be honest, or shoemaking or landscaping, that is something that you can take with you for life. So as a visitor, you get a little, you still can get a little piece of that. So encourage people to give of themselves. Also encourage people to check out the school here. This is not something that you have to kind of watch from afar.
Right.
Encourage people to come and check it out for real.
And returning residents, people who are going to vacation, like myself, add that tour to your itinerary.
Please do.
Your excursion list.
And there's a music performance, students at the end of, so it's every Friday, 11 o'clock. You have to schedule it in advance, but Alpha does make itself available. You get a tour of the campus, and at the end of that, school ends at 12 on a Friday. You get a performance from the students, and you can actually, you see who the next superstars are going to be.
Wow. CB Shot Films, let's do it. All right, I'm going to pack up the camera crew. We're going to go down there. We're going to do what we have to do. Sounds like fun. Sounds like something that I'm going to enjoy. Roy, you'll be there, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's fire up the jet. I'm just saying that optimistically. We're speaking the jet into being. But Joshua, thank you so much, man.
My pleasure, G.
Thank you.
Wonderful to be here. And got to thank Mr. Sweetland. Thank you for, pictures say 1,000 words. If it weren't for photographs, we wouldn't be here today. So give thanks for your works and making all of this possible too.
I'll tell you, when doing assignment there, I want to thank you, because doing the assignment opened my eyes to exactly what pulled you to Alpha. And Alpha being an organic, practical organization, you have added such a dynamic, thing to it to make it more practical, more effective in doing some of the modern stuff that the music industry require of the people who are going to play into it. And Alpha is one of the key players in that. So it's bridging a gap between, the future skills and thing that a young musician need with, the people who are there now, who don't have a job, who don't have options, So to me, I have to thank you for giving me the opportunity to see all these other things. I used to just think of Alpha like the average person. Yeah, it's a nice school that played such a part in these historical figures. But yes, it have a future, a current and a future value.
It's not just about the past.
Yeah.
And that's, hearing you speak like that, gives me hope, because that's been the reaction lately. And it's not just, it's younger people too. So they come in and, people, when they see what we're doing, they want to be a part of it. That means I think Alpha is onto something. So,
and the phrase, I'll go right back to it. There's no better way to cement it. The phrase that's going to encapsulate it all: upward and onward.
Every time.
My name is G. Cole, and this is Homegrown.